everybody. It's Amy Lane, the Literate Yogi, and we have another interview with you today. I am so thrilled to have Nathalie Bonafe here with us. Nathalie does a lot of different things, but one of the things that she does is she educates on certain special transitions in our life. And one transition, which is a pretty big one, I would have to say, is the transition to end of life. So tonight we're going to talk about death. So Nathalie, my first question is, how did you even get interested in death? Because this was not something that you were doing before.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for inviting me to talk about, such crunchy subjects. Let's dive in.
That's what I want.
How did I get interested in death?
Yeah.
Well, when I was at the bench, when I was a biomedical research scientist for about 25 years, I got to play with mice, I got to play with cells, and in any type of phenomenon, sometimes you killed an experiment and you actually deal with life and death. Sometimes, death in cell biology is a normal process that happens. And we don't really talk about it as if it were people, because we were not physicians. But still, we could see death in our, petri dishes when things were not turning out the way we wanted. So, but it's not what really intrigued me about death. It's actually personal losses, and not necessarily per death. There were grief, loss of relationships, problem with my husband at some point several years ago, where he basically left our relationship, and it's like he died. So I went through that grief process, and I mourn his disappearance from my life. But we happened to reconcile, and a lot of things happened during that time that really helped me grow. But having to think about his death brought a lot of awareness in me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met somebody who was teaching End-of Life Doula, and I knew it was my calling. I cannot explain why. It's just very, very deep.
So, obviously death is, no one escapes death. We all experience it, whether going through it with a partner, or being the one that is actually transitioning to the other side. So what exactly is a death doula, an end of life doula? Which term do you prefer? Because I don't want to.
It's fine. When I really started, so like 4 years ago, after I became certified, and I was really green about introducing that word. That was really new. Like 4 years later, it's a lot more spread now. But at that time, it was hard. So I would use a softer term like end of life doula, because it suited me better, because I was afraid to talk to people about death because their reactions were just so outrageous.
Right.
Yeah. Now I use both. Death doulas is a little bit more what is it called? Kind of shocking and provocative. Like in a lot of articles, we would use that to kind of catch people's attention, and it's kind of interesting too. What is it? So really, based on my training and then my experience now, it's really a companion. An end-of-life doula, death doula, it's really at the core a companion. A companion, very much like the birth doulas, a companion, a guide who is going to accompany you, or whoever, let's say, who is going to accompany you through the journey, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So basically, it's not going to be somebody who is going to try to fix you. We are not psychologists. We are not physicians, and we don't touch medications.
Okay.
Okay, so we're not there to necessarily care for you in providing medication or telling you what to do or what is best for you. We're here to create a safe space where you can express yourself and you can be seen, heard, and understood. So basically, we become advocates for that person. So if I'm working with somebody and this person is, in the hospital, I'm going to make sure that the medical team is talking and that person is, can talk, that the medical team is going to address my client. Not me, not the family, because that person is in charge of his, their lives. So if this person, if my client is in hospice, I'm going to make sure that she is being seen and that she is being talked properly, that she's being, nobody is giving her 2 or 3 times doses of laxative. And that she does her PT or she gets her meals wherever she wants them. We're there for quality of life, respect, dignity, and everything in between, and especially the joyful moments.
Right. So how does the doula compare with hospice?
The doulas do not replace hospice.
Okay.
We are not there to replace anyone. We believe we actually have hospice and palliative care end-of-life doula council at the national level. So doulas can be part of the team, often as volunteers so far, as part of hospice and palliative care is concerned at this point. But when employed, paid by the client, we're just part of the team and we do not compete with the professionals. We are an extra pair of eyes. We are somebody who's going to make sure that everybody works together for the best of the client.
Okay.
So yes, if I notice something that is changing in a person's physical appearance or mental state, I would give a call to the nurse, to the hospice nurse, and I would say, "Have you noticed that?" Or I would talk to the social worker in case of the in charge of the case. So that would be how they would benefit from us, because they cannot be at somebody's home or even in a facility 24/7 with a person. They cannot. They're not there. They would come unless for the last 24 hours. The regular pattern is they would come 2-3 times a week for an hour.
Okay.
When it comes to the nurse, a social worker can come a few times a month, in the best case, sometimes less. It depends on the availability. The chaplain can come as well, once in a while, depending on the availability. The nurses are definitely the ones who come the most often. I would say 2 to 3 times a week, once an hour, 1 hour. That's and then you might have the help of CNAs who can come home
Right.
and take care of the toilet and the physical dignity. But the doula, very much like in birth, the doula is going to involve the family. Hospice teams are so busy and so overwhelmed that they don't always have the time to teach the family to care for their loved ones. And that's something the doula can help with, although we're not there to do it. We're there to show you how.
Right.
So think about a birth, right? Think about a birth and how it's important to be talked nicely and to be respected and to be heard and to be accompanied, to be taught. My niece just had babies, and it's not that easy to accompany. She had twins, and that sort of balance is provided by the doulas, non-medical. We don't compete with anybody.
So
I don't do even. I don't do anything. I work under contract, and I don't do anything financial. I don't want to get any um, involved in any financial advice.
so
It's very
you
important.
so as a doula, you can sort of what's the word that I want to say here?
Guide.
Y- Um, guide, but also, I mean, you can choose really your what your talent is. So, for instance, if my talent is more maybe more meditative and more kind of, let's.
It could be essential oils. It could be meditation. Could be Reiki.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. You could do prayers, breathing exercises. Absolutely.
Okay.
We can do a combination of things for the comfort of the person based on who they are.
And so I'm sure, like, I, I mean, when is a good time to start even thinking about this? Because you don't want to also get into that area where someone's too sick and everyone's kind of like rushing around in crisis.
And that is the problem because the subject is so taboo.
Yeah.
Despite all the articles, all the work, all the free education, the subject is taboo. So I'm called always way too late.
Mm.
And so that's why and many of us try to talk to people a lot, reach people a lot sooner. Students, women at menopause, caregivers, um, anyone, earlier. Because as soon as we become more vulnerable, we get a diagnosis, and we all get those diagnoses.
Mhm.
Okay, but the way culturally, and it's true in the US, but it's true all over the Western world, when we are faced with a crisis, we're like, okay, I'm going to get better. I don't need anyone. I'm going to get cured. This is great, but this is often not enough. And it's amazing how a supportive presence, educated supportive presence, okay? Everyone comes with many talents. Um, just a few hours, we can just turn things around for you and create a sense of empowerment that really helps overcome the 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 the, um, the fears.
Yeah.
And so you turn that, then you feel secure, you feel safe, like a child who is having a tantrum. You can, I don't want to say it badly, but you can choose to handle a tantrum in many ways. And the best way is to hold the child tight.
Mm-hmm.
And the child is going to overcome his fear, their fears, his, hers, their feels, and is going to come down and move on. That's what we do.
Okay. And how do
So
you,
soon, anytime, let's have those conversations. It's not frightening. It's actually, they're happy conversations once you start them.
so what are people afraid of? What is it that they're afraid of? Mostly. Is it the suffering at the end? Is it um the unknown? What do people articulate to you?
There is a lot, once I work with people, there is a lot of unspoken. Okay. I think it's the loneliness. So it has not been expressed directly, because once they feel your presence, they just relax and find peace.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happens to them, they know that they're not going to suffer because you're there um, to advocate for, comfort care, palliative care. They know that if um, people have a question, it's going to be answered. So, right, they feel that they're not alone. I think what people feel the most is the solitude, the loneliness, right? The loneliness is the pain,
Mm-hmm.
the loneliness, the lack of connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a lot of emotional that gets in, like unresolved issues
Mm-hmm.
are very, very, they come back.
Yep.
They come back at the end of life, but unresolved issues could be tackled a little bit earlier too.
Agreed. Yes.
Uh, Essentially, fear of not being loved, fear of being alone, and fear of being misunderstood. That's why we provide what we provide.
Right. And do you assist in their spiritual care? Do you cover that with them? Is it
I
something?
can.
Okay.
I can, but the thing is, like, not two people are going to be the same.
Right.
So I can't tell you. In one talk, I remember I was giving early on to professionals in, I think it was in Middletown Hospital, Middlesex
Mhm.
Hospital. I was said, well, if somebody um, wants, priest, I would get a priest. If somebody wants a shaman, I would get a shaman.
Right.
If somebody, whoever, I will meet their needs.
Mhm.
In particular, there could be scientific base, could be all sorts of religious discussions, could be around books, it could be
Mm.
philosophical subjects, it could
Mhm.
be, I mean, I'm there, I'm a resource. It could be, um, it could be legacy projects.
Right.
Remember, we talked about that,
Mhm.
right? Could be, what is it that you'd like? Tell me what you'd like, see what I can do. Um, Pretty much when people start thinking about it, anything can happen, except if we don't have time. That's why we need another reason to talk about it as early as possible. So people get to see their loved ones, they get to say goodbyes, they get to say how much they love each other, they get to laugh about their lives, their mistakes, their regrets. They can laugh about their regrets instead of having regrets.
Right.
Um, and really everybody heals beautifully.
So
Uh,
can you tell me a specific, obviously not using names, but like like one of your favorite experiences that was just like, whew, magical.
uh, well, they're all magical. They're all magical because once you meet the people, once you meet every person in that space, they get to reveal to you their souls, and you get to really see each of them as a whole, as a young person, as a completely competent, funny. That's what I see.
Mhm.
Whatever say. One one I have to say that I have a little thing for French speaking women.
Okay.
Well, it's very interesting to me because I was caring for that uh, woman, French speaking, or elderly lady from Canada originally, who had moved to the US as a young woman. And she really wanted me to be with her because I visited her once a week for many months, like 10 months, through hospice as a volunteer. And then I was there for her transition as part of the hospice team. And she had always told me when we talked that she wanted me to be there because she was afraid that she would revert to speaking French and that nobody in her family would understand her. It had happened to her brother. And when her brother, she was really kind of traumatized when her brother had died. He said something in French, and nobody in the room could understand what he said. And she was really upset about this. So she wanted me to be there. And
Wow.
I witnessed this family take care of that lady in their home. Um, just beautifully. They were singing. We would hold hands. We would, talk to her. We would sing. There would be prayers. There would be some eating. Um, and there was also a lot of talking about relatives visiting.
Hmm. Oh.
Yeah, dead relatives visiting. And it happened, and the lady actually waited for her mom to come pick her up.
Oh.
And but when she was still fine, before she fell, when she was still fine for weeks before, well, 2 or 3 weeks before she declined very rapidly, my lady would talk about she had been receiving visits from her mom at night. So how, what do you say? What do you say? You say, what did she
Oh,
say?
wonderful. Right, right.
And so she was totally, she knew about it. Oh, that woman was just such a doll, such a wonderful soul. And she said, my mom came, I visited, and the night she died at the time her mom usually came at night.
Wow. Yeah.
That's one example you ask me.
That's pretty magical.
You ask me, so that's
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
There is always so much in the person's life that you can, everything is kind of um, what can I say, that coming together
Yeah.
but with the right support.
Hmm.
And it's just and you know what we do is not 24/7. People do not need 24/7. They don't need us 24/7. They need us in between, just to make sure that things are in place for them to just be.
And to support the transition, right?
And support the caregivers too. So I also do a lot of things, for the caregivers. I believe that the caregivers, especially the family caregivers, are poorly supported in this society. So the dying are poorly supported, and the caregivers are poorly supported. And there is so much lost in translation.
And so
There's so much.
how do you support the caregivers? I know it depends on what they need, but
Well, it depends on what they need. But again, offering an a safe space for like seeing them. And so I can provide some respite.
mhm,
Practically, I can say get a massage, or, get a Reiki, or go for a walk. It doesn't have to be about money. It can be, but it doesn't have to be, right?
mhm,
Said, go for a walk, go breathe, go to the beach, go. I mean, we can here.
right,
Take time for yourself to self-care.
mhm,
And I would cover, and that's okay. I have your phone number. But also, it could be just listening.
mhm.
It's incredible. People would come to me and would say, I'm worried about my mental health, because it's a hard job,
Oh yeah.
on the top of the family, on the top of, the bringing food to the table, making sure the bills are paid. This is tough. But this does not always require therapy. But just listening to the caregivers, also saying you're doing the right thing, or you might want to consider, calling hospice. You might want to consider, consulting a therapist,
Mhm.
for things that I cannot take care of.
Right.
That I would think you might want to consider palliative care for your caregiver, for your loved one, a lot before death comes. That's why it's important that we talk as early as possible. There's so many ways to relieve the caregivers and the family. Just make sure you eat. Just make sure you have dinner. Simple, huh? Make
Yeah.
sure you have enough water.
Mm, right.
And also, I mean, there is also a lot of advising in terms of, how much money they want to spend for the rituals, and the funerals. There's so much I can provide information and resources on.
Mhm.
Oh, on green funerals, people who want, being washed, so according to
Mm.
their traditions or not. How do we do this? How do we do it lovingly, simply, um, tactfully?
Yeah. Wow. That's there.
Is
It's a lot. I
it
mean,
scary? Is it scary?
it's not for me. No, it's not scary. It's you're absolutely right. I feel that people wait too long, and it just becomes this medical process. It's just a physical process, and we're gonna kind of move you through. And they sedate you heavily, and you lose that time with your family, and everybody loses in that
Oh, doctors
circumstance.
are tremendously affected. Healthcare
So
workers are tremendously affected because they don't have time to do the hand holdings.
right,
Everybody is. It's nobody's fault. It's the system that
right,
is very, very strict now, based on reimbursement.
right, 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 right,
It is what it is. I mean,
right. So how do you so that leaves another question. How do people pay for this? I mean, insurance doesn't cover it.
no, but it's out of pocket.
Is it a sliding scale? Is it not a sliding scale? Okay.
Yes, yes, it's a sliding scale. But what I like to say is that people do not need to spend a fortune on doulas. It is not a lot of money. Um, I know that in the article we were talking about earlier, the range was pretty wide. If a single person, let's say like me, who doesn't have, as I get older, I'm sure, my husband being older, I will be alone, and I have no children. Okay, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
When things happen for me, I'm going to need a doula. Okay, so it's likely that I will need somebody who is going to have to spend more time with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, um, so I could be spending a few $1,000s on her, depending, I could be, I don't know, could be a few thousand. So I usually, for doula work, I usually charge $60 per hour. In all honesty, when there is a little bit of help at home, in a few hours, take me like 10 hours for, let's say, $1,000,
Mm-hmm.
you can get so much out of me. You can get on the phone anytime. It's almost like a retainer. So what works best is a contract, very much like birth doulas, because we never know how it's going to be. You can have me for 24/7 on, over a period of a month, right? To talk to me about what's going on, what did you learn, what's going on with the hospital, keep me posted, contact me anytime. It would cost $1,000 for a period of 1 month,
Right.
maybe more, depending on. And I can come or I can talk on the phone for support, empowerment, listening. Give. It is not a lot of money, honestly,
Yeah.
compared to a funeral that could cost.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so think about it. No, what I do is like Reiki, it's like yoga, it's like massage, it's like good nutritious food. It's not reimbursed by insurance, but it does not mean that it's not valuable.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, so but I would say for $1,000, 10 hours of my time, 10, 15 hours of my time, you can cover the entire um, process with me, and I can be there for your loved
Great.
ones.
That's great.
So no, it is not reimbursed. If it were for somebody like me, as I get older and sicker, who would need more support, and I would like to have psychological support and also spiritual and also intellectual, then yes, it could cost you more money.
Right.
Okay, um, but um, I would say it's the best $1,000 people can spend, a few $100s if they cannot. I also barter, so you can pay me in tomatoes if you have. See what I mean? No, but I mean,
No,
or greens. If
yes,
this needs to be a respectful exchange,
absolutely.
and this is how it used to be. We used to help each other
Mm-hmm.
as neighbors, as family members. It's a form of, I want this to be valued as what it is.
Right.
It is valuable. So I deplore that caregivers are not valued enough. I deplore that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not valued, they're not reimbursed, they're not paid by insurance, they're not paid by the government. Caregivers do a lot of work, unrecognized, unpaid, and they exhaust themselves. This is not right. So, with a little bit of support, with people like me who know, um, we can go so much further. And this need of real empathy and compassion and real support needs people need to know about this. It's real. Not everybody wants to, get money out of you, but uh, there is a need for recognition and respect. And this is in that regard that I charge for my time.
Right. Well, that was my next question was, how do you educate people on this? I know that you do a death cafe, which
I do desk cafes.
I think that is fabulous. So who comes to the death cafes? Anyone who's interested in talking about death?
Yes, anyone.
It's different from grief support.
It is not a grief support. So basically, people who come to desk cafes are not cannot be in. I mean, they welcome to come, but they cannot show anger. They cannot. So desk cafes are again a safe space for people to come and discuss anything death related, life and death. In my case, I call my desk cafe life and death cafes because they're also online, and since the pandemic, they're really about life and death.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to open it, make it less heavy in those very trying times. You have lots of students who come. You have, you have a few death doulas. You have nurses, you have caregivers, you have men, you have younger men, older men, middle-aged men, elderly. Same with women. We have people from California, Florida, Canada. We've had people from Mexico, born in China. I mean, um, but they cannot be angry. So they cannot be just, at the beginning of their grief work if they just love someone.
Mm-hmm.
So they can be listening, they can be sharing. It's a very respectful place. So there will be a place for listening. There is a place for listening to one another. There is no place for people who want to take over and make an agenda for themselves.
Got it.
So and it has happened. I mean, I've had a couple of cases where the person takes over, and these people are generally not invited to come back.
Mm-hmm.
They happen because the space is supposed to be open to all. It
Mm-hmm.
is. There are just very simple rules of acceptance and respect.
Okay.
So again, every ethnicity, um, gender, age.
And so you come in, it's a Zoom, right?
It's Zoom now. You
Yeah,
come in.
fortunately.
We go around the table. We go in the sense that there is a brief introduction. People who had never come to a cafe, get a little, recap of what it is, and it's also on the Eventbrite details, so they can read about it there. It's coming from the UK. It's been around since 2012. Was the UK and Switzerland. And now more and more people talk about it. There are more and more of them. And that's wonderful. They can find one that is best for their time. Mine is the last Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. EDT. So, but there are plenty of others on the deskcafe.com.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it up.
Official. Yeah, it's an official thing.
I'm actually interested
So
in
that's who
going.
comes. That's who comes. And I have to say, never two cafes are the same. It's warm, it's bright. We laugh and smile and pray, or hold space for one another, it's like no other place.
That's great. I guess.
And people don't have to be dying to come. I mean, they can be dying to come, but they don't have to be dying to
Right.
come. It's really an exploratory thing. It's
Mhm.
really this is me joking with
Good joke.
English. It's a good one. It's really actually very empowering and very positive meeting. It's not sad at all. That's what I've been trying to say. In that article you were talking about, there's definitely a dopamine rush.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Feel
I saw
good.
that. Yeah.
You feel good. You can't help it. It makes you feel more alive. That's the point. Is to
Right.
enjoy life.
Right. So I have one last question for you. Are you afraid of dying?
Me?
Yeah.
Actually, I cannot say I'm not afraid, but I'm not looking forward to it.
Right.
So yes, people. I'm saying that because people have associated death doula. People sometimes have misunderstood our role, especially at the beginning, thinking that we help people die faster, which is not really the case, not at all.
Mhm.
So I'm not necessarily looking forward to dying, but I think I found a peace that if I had to die tomorrow, I would be fine.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to, if I had to, because I could not be fixed or repaired, or I would be comfortable with going. And so in that regard, I'm not afraid of dying. The pain is definitely, so I've wrote down my advanced directives, and it's
Mhm.
really important that the pain is being taken care of. But we can do, I've done my advanced care planning. Actually, I first done it when I was 35, a while back, when I actually divorced from my first husband. I had nobody in this country. So I had to have it done.
Mhm.
And I had it redone. I have it redone every other year. So I have it done, 4 or 5 years ago. And then I done it again 2 years ago. And I revise it as needed.
Mhm. Yeah, that's important.
Um, yeah, it's so important. It's a process. It's really, really important. So I think if I had to die tomorrow, I would be fine because I would have loved and I have no regrets.
Mhm.
And that's where I'd like to help people do too.
That's just a great way of ending this. Um, I do want to say though that you also have something else that you are working on also, and that is the transition that women go through, which is menopause. And I would really love to bring you back for another interview for that, because that's another taboo, you know,
Taboo.
topic.
Mm,
Um, but
absolutely
it
taboo.
it's something that we all can't run away from, just like death. So yeah, we need to talk about it, right?
They go so well together when you think of it. When you think of it, they go so well together. If we can tackle the menopause one, then we don't have to do anything about death. It will be taken care of.
Right, right,
We can
right,
break the taboo then.
right. So true. So thank you so much, Natalie. This was so fabulous. Um, and I hope
I'm
I
so
hope that
happy we got to talk. I'm
me
so
too.
happy.
Me too. And I hope that people, watch this and just realize that, there is this, there really is a way to get this beautiful ending. It can be beautiful for everyone involved.
It's beautiful because it happens anyway, and the world would be a much better place if we knew how to part with loved ones and to find peace. Peace would be Peace.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Natalie. All right, everybody. That's the end of our interview. I will post this up as soon as I can. And everybody have a great day, great evening.